Fugitive priest accused of abuse faces trial. Albuquerque, NM. UA priest. The trial of 80-year-old Arthur Perot is set to begin Monday in Santa Fe with jury selection. Prosecutors or federal authorities have said in court documents that Perot may have had as many as 8 other victims. But the charges against the church sent Perot to New Mexico in the 1960s for treatment at a center for pedophile priests. He was arrested in Perot's case marks a rare federal criminal prosecution of a former Catholic priest in the state where dozens of clergy abuse victims have won more than $50 million in settlements from the Santa Fe Archdiocese, which has filed for bankruptcy protection as a result of the lawsuits. Perot returned to the U.S. in September to face charges of aggravated sexual abuse and abusive sexual contact. He has pleaded not. Prosecutors say he abused the boy in 1991 and 1992 at Kirtland Air Force Base in Albuquerque and Santa Fe National Cemetery. Both sites are the Santa Fe Archdiocese and Perot's attorney did not respond to requests for comment. In response to church officials in Connecticut sent Perot to the treatment facility in the secluded mountain town of Hemes Springs north of Albuquerque after he was accused of inappropriately touching young males. The facility had treated priests from around the country for decades, many of whom remained in New Mexico after spending time at the center. In 2016, the Santa Fe Archdiocese published a list of 74 clergy members, including Perot, who had been credibly accused of sexually abusing children in New Mexico. The list was made. Perot moved to Albuquerque for a teaching post at St. Pius X High School. Federal court documents filed in September contain accounts of Perot showering boys with gifts and meals before abusing them. In Albuquerque, he had been a pastor at St. Bernadette Parish. Since September, Perot has remained in custody despite arguments from his attorney that his health is fragile and he cannot flee the country because he has no passport, family, or means of leaving.
Raindrop, drop top smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up, open the park pot.